Libra. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for March of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas in San Francisco.
Well, Libra, this horoscope's themes touch on all over the place. They're just everything, a little bit of everything. So you might find that there isn't any one area that you would necessarily have questions about, but you just may have questions about several areas after you watch this horoscope. And if you want to find out more in a very personal reading, all about how these things land for you specifically, then you can find a link for a natal and transit reading that you could get with Julia or me in the YouTube description below. Well, I want to begin by telling you about the transit of Ceres, and this is something that I'm starting to report this year. Ceres is an archetype that we specialize in around here at Pandora Astrology, along with the other asteroid goddesses. You can think of her as the steward, the gardener, the farmer, if you will. Wherever she goes, it's really good to do the right combination of cultivation and culling. And right now, this month, she is traveling through your ninth house, which is a house of philosophy, of growth and expansion, and of worldview, and the resilience that comes when your worldview answers the big questions of life, such as, why are we here? Why am I here? And what does it all mean anyway? Ceres actually loves to be in this house. And so this is a really good time for culling the aspects of your worldview, your life philosophy that aren't answering those big questions anymore, and cultivating and growing in directions of your worldview or philosophy that do answer those big questions. You may find the answers through a religion, which might be a very conventional, organized religion, or might be just a sort of an exploration of the mind. Another thing I want to mention before getting away from Ceres is that she does love to be in this house, and that's because Ceres also signifies money and finance, and this is a house of growth and expansion. So, and Ceres will be here until mid-May, so this is a really good time to think about how to change your beliefs about money in ways that can allow more money to come to you, and how to grow your finances. The other planet I want to tell you about right now is Juno. Juno is another asteroid in the asteroid belt like Ceres. She is a very social planet. She is about connecting with the right people and connecting the right people with each other. She is also about partnership. So she's traveling along through the fifth house, which is a house of fun and entertainment, short trips, and the wonderful feelings of a love affair. Having Juno in this house is terrific because Juno is the symbolic spouse. And so if you have a partner in your life, somebody that you're partnered with in a serious, committed way, whether that's a spouse or a long-term relationship, or whether that's a business partnership, Juno moving into the fifth house says that this is a time for the next couple of months when you really should be having more fun with that partner. You should be introducing a quality of play and like the freedom to be childlike, not childish, but childlike, which is a real benefit even in a business partnership. Giving your partner the freedom to be creative and you taking your own freedom to be creative is a wonderful use of this transit. Hey, Julie, I know you've got news about Venus, Mars, and Mercury. What's that stuff?
I sure do. Hey there, Libra. We'll begin with Venus and Mars because these two have been traveling together all year in kind of like a moving conjunction. And last month they were in Capricorn, which was all happening in your fourth house of family and home. But by March 5th, these two are going to shift into your fifth house. So if you do want to hear a little bit about what that Venus-Mars conjunction is like in your fourth house, I highly recommend you go to our last month's video to learn a little bit more about about that. But by the 5th, when these two shift into your 5th house of fun, creativity, amusements, dating, and children, it's going to be a different energetic shift that you're feeling. So the 5th house is a super fun house. And Venus and Mars have two very different functions in astrology. Venus is a planet that represents pleasure. She represents attraction. She represents beauty and just kind of getting along with people. Mars is a planet that's very driven. It represents the action hero in you. And wherever we have Mars is not only where we're really driven, but where we can run into some possible conflict. Now, in this 5th house of yours, having Venus in here gives you a little bit of dating luck, maybe helps you get along better with your children if you have any. Venus is an artistic planet and the 5th house is an artistic place. So if you have a creative side to you, you might feel those juices flowing more. Now, Mars is a planet that's very driven. So you could be feeling very driven in all 5th house matters. And that can mean just having fun, being creative, going out and enjoying diversions. And Mars in the 5th can be a nice transit for having a good time. However, it can be a bit tricky if you have to focus on other types of things. You have other responsibilities in your life and you can't all be fun and games. Also, since the 5th house can represent your children, if you do have any, Mars in the 5th can be a time where you might have more disagreements than usual. But I'd say the most constructive way to use this transit is to really, really apply yourself to something that's 5th house, either a creative project or something fun, you know? Maybe you're going out and doing some work on your dating apps. That could be a good time right now. Venus is also moving direct and speeding up in the sky. She went through a whole retrograde cycle this winter, which means that we all went through a review process in our relationships. But now that she's direct and moving fast, that kind of smooths things over, which is really nice for the spring. I do also want to say a few things about Mercury too. Mercury represents your mind. Wherever you have Mercury is where you might expend a lot of mental energy and where there might be an increase in communication. So by the 9th of this month, Mercury is going to move into your 6th house. This is a work house. It's the house of organization. It's the house of all of your habits and rituals. It also represents health too. So with Mercury in the 6th house, it can be a really, really good time for getting, organizing and sort of KonMariing, if you know KonMari, that organization guru.
Marie Kondo.
Yeah, Marie Kondo. It's a good time to Marie Kondo your house, to really get sort of organized. It can be a great time for being strategic or thinking and planning, perhaps a health strategy, if you need to rethink something in your health or a new health regimen. And Mercury in the 6th can be a time of increased communication with your coworkers, with your boss, everybody that you work with as well.
Yes. And I want to tell you about the moons of this month, which are going to bring us into that 6th house again, as Julia was saying, beginning with the new moon happening here on March 2nd. This is a new moon in Pisces, and new moons are times for planting seeds, and they often will bear fruit at the full moon that follows. This particular new moon falls in your 6th house. We're calling it rationally dreaming for the collective, which the dreaming part has to do with the Pisces placement. Both the rational and also the collective part have to do with Uranus's placement here. And there's a wonderful Jupiter energy about this as well. That's very close to the moon. This stuff is landing in your 6th house of work and the work environment. Now, this particular moon being in Pisces is an opportunity to plant seeds of compassion and empathy and kindness. So it might be time to do a little anonymous good for people in your workplace, to reach out to people that could use a little empathy, a little sympathy, a little warmth, and plant that kind of a seed in the people that you work with, or that you plant, or that work for you, under you, in other words, because this is a house of service and servants. Now, 2 weeks later, that moon has moved all the way to the other side of the wheel. And on the 17th, 18th, depending on your time zone, here's the moon at its fullest in Virgo in your 12th house, bringing in themes of spiritual service. and blending and balancing them with practical service. This moon we're calling Realize Your Empathy Through Humble Practice. So it's really about taking the empathy that you feel, the warmth, the kindness, and shaping it into something real and useful and tangible, and like, something that others can actually experience. And so that is a great thing to do once it comes to the full moon here. You can find out about both of these moons on our YouTube playlist, on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology, and the playlist is the news playlist for March of 2022. Now, the last thing I want to speak to is that the sun has been traveling through Pisces and your 6th house, bringing a lot of your attention to the work arena. But it, around the 20th of the month, it leaves the 6th house and enters your 7th house, which is the arena of partnership. And so your attention begins to move to how can you partner better? How can you get more out of your partnerships? How can you find balance in your relationships? And in particular, how can you balance your usual tendency to be too nice, too sweet, too kind with some healthy assertion, with some directness, some honesty and clarity? How can you, cut through the bull? Am I allowed to say that here? You know what I mean. Cut through the bull, yes. And that's a really great way to spend your time as the sun moves into Aries. Now, I think that Aries, because of its freshness, its excitement and enthusiasm, its sheer drive and energy, it's a time of year when we want to do spring cleaning. That's the physical season outside, as we feel like, oh, that surge of energy is coming and I just want to clean house. And so cleaning house can be done in any area of life. In this case, the 7th house, relationships, is where you should be cleaning house. And that, again, is that burst of honesty and directness that can just, move through your relationship like a fire hose dispensing large amounts of water and just clean all of the garbage out of there. And that's what we have for you today, Libra. Hope you enjoyed it. You will find your horoscope on our website, pandoraastrology.com, in the horoscopes tab. Also on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology, in a horoscopes playlist for the month. And if you want a reading based on any of the things that you heard here, you can find our types of readings tab on our website. And there are classes available on our website and the monthly forecast too. Until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye-bye.
Bye.